Well, hey there, and welcome to Board to Learn, the channel dedicated to helping you learn how to play your new games faster. I'm Kent, and today we're looking at Survive the Island, a cutthroat race to escape game where the board sinks beneath you for 2 to 5 players. So, meet me at the table, and we'll get started. Here's the situation. You and your crew have been out here treasure hunting, and it's gone great, right up until the volcanoes decided to start waking up. Now the island is sinking, ancient creatures are stirring, and you've got one job left. Get out. And you're not the only one trying to leave. Other crews want the same rafts you do, and out here, survival knows no rules. You're in charge of a team of 10 adventurers, and every one of them is carrying treasure. Get as many as you can off the island and to safety before the third volcano blows. The person who manages to get the most adventurers off the island with the highest treasure value wins the game. To set up, start by placing the game board in the middle of the table. Shuffle all 40 island tiles landscape side up. Then randomly place them the same way, inside the printed outline on the board. Make sure to leave the center space with the sea serpent on it blank. This builds your departure island. Just don't flip any of the tiles over to peek at the backs. You want to keep that a surprise for later. Next, find the spaces on the board marked for sea serpents and place a sea serpent on each one. Sea serpents are the only creature that starts the game already prowling around. Set the sharks and the kaijus off to the side for now. They'll show up later. Also, place the creature die next to them. Each player picks a color and takes the 10 matching adventure meeples, 1 player aid card, and 2 rafts. Place the remaining rafts next to the creatures on the side of the board. If you're playing with 2 players, each of you takes 2 colors instead of 1, and you'll treat them as a single team. That gets you 20 adventurers, 2 player aids as a reminder of your colors, and 4 rafts. Before we go any further, we need to choose a first player. The game suggests the person who most recently returned safe and sound from an island. Now, here's the part you really want to pay attention to. Every adventurer has a treasure value hidden on its base, somewhere between 1 and 5. Going clockwise from the first player, take turns placing your adventurers one at a time onto empty tiles on the departure island until all of your adventurers are down. Before you place each one, take a peek at the number underneath. Try to remember where the highest values are. Once you've placed it, that's it. You can't check those values again for the rest of the game. If you're playing with 5 players, when you run out of empty tiles, start placing your remaining adventurers on tiles that already have exactly 1 other meeple on them. The last step is placing your rafts. Again, starting with the first player, take turns placing 1 raft at a time on any empty water space next to an island tile, going around the table until every player has placed both of their rafts. And with that, the setup is complete. In Survive the Island, play moves in a clockwise manner from the first player, and every turn breaks down into the same 3 phases, in the same order every time. First, your action phase where you move your people, and use anything you've picked up. Second, Rising Waters, where the island actually shrinks. And third, Creatures, where whatever's lurking out there gets to move. Let's go through each phase in more detail. During the action phase, you get 3 moves to spend however you like. With that in mind, let's take a quick look at the board to understand why movement is important. You probably already noticed during setup that the board is divided into a grid of hexagons. Each hexagon is considered 1 space when moving, whether by land or water. In the 4 corners of the board are the rescue islands. These 4 islands are where you're trying to escape to safely, but it won't be easy. Notice there are only 2 hexagons in front of each island, and to make things worse, 1 at each island is already blocked by a sea serpent. So, as you can see, safely navigating your adventures off the sinking island isn't going to be easy. With that in mind, let's get back to how to spend your 3 movements. Again, you can spend your 3 movements however you like. Move 1 adventurer 3 spaces, split them across a few adventurers, or spend them on moving a raft. There are 3 movement types: on foot, by swimming, or moving a raft. There is one caveat with your movement. You can't move as fast in water as you can on land. So each adventurer only gets to move in water, or by swimming, once per turn. For example, if I start on land and move into the water, that immediately stops the movement for that adventurer. If I start in the water and swim to the next water space, that also ends the movement for that adventurer. But if I start in water and move one space onto land, that adventurer can continue moving on foot if there's still movement left. However, that adventurer would not be able to re-enter the water on that turn. Moving on foot is not restricted. You can move from an island tile to another island tile, from an island tile to a raft, and from a raft to a rescue island. These are all considered moving on foot. There are 2 rules you must follow to be able to move a raft. It has to be empty, or you have to have control of it, meaning you have at least as many adventurers on it as anyone else. To move a raft, slide it into any empty adjacent water space. When moving by foot or swimming, if an adventurer lands on the same space as a raft, they hop right on, as long as there's room. One more thing to keep in mind, a raft is usually your fastest way to a rescue island, since it crosses the water a lot quicker than swimming. Just remember, stepping off the raft onto the rescue island still costs you a move. On top of your movement, you can also use as many ability tiles as you want during your action phase. To use one, just discard it and trigger its effects. You'll pick these up during the Rising Waters phase, which is exactly where we're headed next. This is the phase where the island actually starts disappearing, and it happens on every player's turn. After you finish your action phase, you must take one island tile off the board. You don't get to take just any tile though. Tiles disappear in a set order, thinnest to thickest. Every beach tile has to be gone before you can touch a forest tile, and every forest tile has to be gone before you can touch a mountain tile. Following that order, you're free to choose any tile of that type to remove. If there was an adventurer or creature sitting on that tile, they drop straight down onto the water space you just revealed. Now, secretly look at the back of the tile you took. It's going to be one of 2 things, an effect or an ability. If it's an effect, you apply it right away and then discard the tile. There are 5 effect tiles in the game. Your player aid has a quick reference for all of them, and the back of the rulebook goes into even more depth if you ever need it. Some of these effects won't start showing up until later in the game, but let's still take a look at each of them real quick. The green creature tile places a shark on that space. If every shark is already in play, you choose one to move onto that space instead. The blue creature tile does the same thing, but with a kaiju. If both kaijus are already out, again choose one to move onto that space. The raft tile places a new raft on that space, straight from the supply. If the supply is ever empty, move an empty raft already on the board to that space instead. And if there's no empty raft on the board, nothing happens. The whirlpool tile sucks everything down to the deep. Remove every adventurer, creature, and raft currently on that space, as well as every water space adjacent to it. The last effect tile is the volcano tile. It works a little differently. You remove any adventurers or creatures from the board, then put the volcano tile back on the board. This space is now inaccessible for the rest of the game. Volcanoes also do something the other tiles don't. They start the countdown to the end of the game. The moment the 3rd volcano gets revealed, the game ends immediately. If the tile you flip is an ability, you don't use it right away. Keep it face down in front of you. You can play it during any of your future action phases. There are 5 of these tiles as well. Again, refer to your player aid or the back of the rulebook for a reminder. Paddles let you move an empty raft or a raft you control 1 or 2 spaces, in addition to your normal movement. Remember, you control a raft if you have at least as many of your adventurers on it as any other player. The dolphin ability moves one of your swimmers 1 or 2 water spaces, in addition to your normal movement, and they can end that move on land or on a raft. Dive lets you pick up any creature from anywhere on the board and drop it onto any empty water space you choose. This tile with the creature die has you roll the die and move whichever creature it shows, according to its movement rules. This is in addition to your normal die roll performed in the creature's phase. The last ability tile is Repellent, and you do not have to wait till the action phase to use it. You can use it the instant one of your adventurers is sharing a space with a shark or a kaiju to knock that creature off the board. The repellent can only be used against one creature. One more thing to note, with all of these tiles, whether it's an effect or an ability, once you've resolved it, you discard it. The only exception is the volcano, which stays on the board for the rest of the game. Once you've resolved your tile, it's time to see what's stirring out there. Roll the creature die. Whatever creature shows up, if it's on the board, it will now move. There are 3 creatures, and each one reacts differently to each element it encounters. Elements can be rafts, adventurers, or even other creatures. Sea serpents and sharks can freely move through or even share a space with each other, but they can't move into a space with a kaiju. A kaiju can freely move into the same space as any other creature, but it will cause that creature to immediately move away from it. Your player aid has a reminder of each creature's movement and interactions too, so it's worth keeping close by once these things start showing up. Remember, sea serpents are already out on the board from setup. Sharks and kaijus aren't. They only show up once someone reveals a green or blue creature tile during Rising Waters, so don't expect to see them right away. The sea serpent moves 1 water space at a time, and it's brutal. If it lands on a space with a raft or any adventurer, including swimmers, everything there is eliminated. The shark moves 1 or 2 water spaces and only cares about swimmers. Landed on someone actually in the water and they're eliminated. Adventurers on a raft are safe. The kaiju moves 1 or 2 spaces across water or land, in any combination. It destroys any raft it lands on and pushes adventurers there onto adjacent spaces. They don't all have to go the same direction. If it enters a space with another creature, that creature gets displaced, forced to move according to its own movement rules. This could cause it to react with an element of its own. Whenever a creature is moving, it always stops the instant it comes in contact with an element it reacts to, even if it had more spaces left to go. One quick note that covers all 3 creatures. Their interactions aren't limited to the creature phase. Anytime a creature ends up sharing a space with an element it reacts to, the interaction happens, whether that's from a creature moving, an element moving onto the creature's space, or a new creature entering play through a tile effect. And if a creature does eliminate one of your adventurers, don't look at what treasure they were carrying. It's just gone, and it's better not to know. Place any eliminated adventurers and rafts off to the side of the board. It's worth keeping in mind that rafts are a limited resource. Once one's destroyed, it doesn't go back into the supply, so as the game goes on, there are fewer and fewer ways off the island. Keep in mind, the active player always chooses the actions of the creatures. Once you have resolved any movement from the creature phase, your turn is over, and play passes to the next player in clockwise order. There are a couple things that trip people up early on. Once the game is actually underway, any number of adventurers from any color can share the same space. That 1 per tile limit only applies during setup. If a raft is moved onto a space with more adventurers than the raft has room for, the active player decides who gets on and who doesn't. When repellent is used, all adventurers and a raft present at the time are safe. Let's do a quick recap before we wrap up. Every turn, you've got 3 phases in the same order. First, your action phase, where you spend 3 moves however you want between your adventurers and rafts, and use any ability tiles you're holding. Then, Rising Waters, where you remove an island tile, thinnest type first, and resolve whatever's on the back, an effect right away or an ability to save for later. And finally, Creatures, where you roll the die and move whatever's shown, if it's on the board. There's one more situation worth understanding before we get to the end game. If you ever start your turn with no adventurers left anywhere in play, whether they have been rescued or lost to creatures, you're not done playing. You still take your turn like normal. During your action phase, you won't have any adventurers to move, but you can still use an ability tile if you're holding on to one that doesn't require an adventurer of your own, like Dive or the Creature Die tile, to reposition a creature right where you want it. Then, during Rising Waters, instead of removing just 1 tile, you remove 2. And you still roll for the creature phase like everyone else. So, even once you're out of the running for treasure yourself, you're still very much a part of the game, pushing the island towards its end faster, and still able to put a creature somewhere inconvenient for your opponents. After all, out here, survival knows no rules. The game ends one of 2 ways. Either every single adventurer across all players has been rescued or eliminated, or the 3rd volcano gets revealed. If it is the volcanoes that end things, any adventurers not on a rescue island score nothing. Scoring is refreshingly simple. Add up the treasure values of every adventurer you actually got to a rescue island. That's your score. Whoever has the highest total wins. And if there's a tie, congratulations, you all survived and win together. And that's how to play Survive the Island. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to learn even more great games. Turn the bell on to be notified of my latest videos. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And remember, it's not just how you play, it's how much fun you have. I'll see you next time on Board to Learn. Survive the Island, a cutthroat race to the finish. Nope. Next, find the spaces on the board marked for sea serpents. Eliminated adventurers. Now, here's the part you really want to pay attention to. Scoring is refreshingly simple. Scoring is refreshingly easy. Simple.